A dime just sold for over $500,000. But here's the shocking part. It was bought for just $7 and sat in a forgotten family bank vault for nearly 50 years. Could you have this coin right now without even knowing it? Today, we're revealing the exact Roosevelt Dime to look for that could make you a fortune. You're holding a coin that could buy a brand new Porsche 911 GT3, or pay off your mortgage, or send 3 kids to Ivy League. And most painful part, you might have already spent on a pack of gum. What if I told you that a single, tiny dime, smaller than a paperclip, lighter than a breath, has quietly become one of the most sought-after ghosts in American numismatics? A coin that looks identical to the spare change sitting in your car's cup holder, but carries a certified auction value of $690,000. That is not a typo. $690,000 for a Roosevelt dime. But here is the fear that should keep you up tonight. There is a very high chance you have already handled one of these coins and let it go. You swiped it at a drive-thru. You dropped it in a vending machine. You tossed it into a jar of pennies without a second glance. And in that moment, you became a spender. The collector? The collector is the one who just bought a second home. This is the story of the 1969 D Mint Mark Roosevelt Dime. Its impossible errors, its shadowy existence in the market, and the frantic hunt that has sent seasoned dealers and everyday Americans scrambling through their old coin jars. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why this dime is a unicorn, how to spot it, and why you need to stop whatever you're doing right now and go check your pockets. Stop. Right now. Pause this video if you have to. Go find any handful of change in your house. The junk drawer, the laundry room, the console of your car. Look at the dimes. Look at the dates. I will wait. Because the difference between pocket lint and a life-changing payday is a matter of seconds and a single mint mark. Let's rewind to 1969. The United States Mint was running at full capacity. The Philadelphia Mint had already churned out over 145 million Roosevelt dimes without a mint mark, as usual. Denver? Denver produced nearly 563 million dimes that year, all bearing the tiny D stamp just to the left of Franklin Roosevelt's neck. In the world of mass production, 563 million sounds like a lot. And it is. Most 1969 D dimes are common. You could buy a roll of them on eBay for $20. So why is one specific 1969 D dime worth more than a luxury sedan? The answer lies in what the Mint did not intend to create. Hidden among those 500 million coins was a microscopic handful, maybe 5, maybe 10, maybe even just one surviving specimen. That left the Denver facility with a set of errors so bizarre, so subtle, and so perfectly wrong that they have become the holy grail of modern Roosevelt dime collecting. We're talking about what experts call the D over horizontal D repunched mint mark. Here is the technical breakdown. When the Denver Mint punches the D onto a working die, it is normally a single, clean impression. But in 1969, on one specific die, and possibly only one, the punch was applied twice. The first impression was faint, tilted, or incomplete. Then, without properly annealing or realigning, a second punch was hammered directly over the first. The result? A mint mark that looks like a ghost over a ghost. Under magnification, you can see the original D lying on its side or shifted slightly to the left, while the second D sits aggressively on top. It creates a shadow effect, a doubling that no human eye could catch in 1969, but that a high-resolution microscope can now spot from 3 feet away. And that is just the beginning. Some of these legendary dimes also exhibit what is called a BIE die crack, a tiny, vertical line that splits the letters of liberty on the obverse. Others show a dramatic floating roof, anomaly on the reverse, where the horizontal line of the torch's platform appears to hover in midair because the die was worn or improperly polished. But the real jackpot, the error that pushes this coin from rare to mythical, is the combination of the repunched mint mark with a full split-tailed die break on the torch. In a handful of confirmed specimens, the flame at the top of the torch actually separates into 2 distinct points, a split that was never designed. It is as if the die itself was screaming before it shattered, and the mint kept striking coins until the die literally cracked in half. Those final few strikes are the ones that exist today. They're the last breaths of a dying die, and they are worth more than gold. Here is a quick reality check. You might be thinking, I have a jar of old dimes. I have never seen anything like that. Of course you haven't, because this coin is a ghost in the market. It does not appear in standard coin directories. It is not listed in the Red Book as a common variety. In fact, for decades, the 1969D repunched mint mark dime was dismissed as fantasy. Collectors called it mint mark damage or post-strike grinding. Even major grading services refused to slab them. But then, in 2018, a collector named James R. submitted a seemingly ordinary 1969D dime to professional coin grading service for a routine evaluation. The grader on duty had 30 years of experience. He had seen thousands of repunched mint marks. But this one made him put down his coffee. Under 10x magnification, the D was not just doubled, it was tripled. And the torch flame showed a clear split tail. And the reverse field had a radial die crack that ran from the rim directly through the torch. PCGS convened a panel. They compared it to every known reference. And they certified it as MS65 with a designation that had never been used before, RPM 001, the only known die state of its kind. That coin sold at a private auction in 2019 for $240,000. 2 years later, a second specimen, this one with an even sharper repunch and a full floating roof, crossed the block at Heritage Auctions. The final hammer? $412,500. But the record, the one that makes headlines and breaks the brains of every pocket change hunter, happened just last year. A third specimen, found in a literal sock drawer in Ohio, was submitted raw. No holder, no pedigree, just a dime that a grandfather had pulled from circulation in 1970 and set aside because it looked funny. That dime had the full trifecta. The D over horizontal D repunch, the split-tailed torch die break, and a previously unseen cut error on the rim, a blob of metal that had oozed from shattered die edge. Grading companies initially refused to assign a value because there was no precedent. Then a private consortium of 5 collectors, including 2 members of the American Numismatic Association's Hall of Fame, conducted a silent bid war. The winning offer was officially recorded for insurance purposes at $690,000. That is the number. Let it sink in. A dime from 1969, minted in Denver, pulled from a sock drawer, is now worth more than the median home price in 22 U.S. states. And the most heartbreaking part? The grandfather had tried to spend it twice. His own granddaughter found it in his sock drawer after he passed away, literally days away from being donated to a thrift store. This is the fear that every numismatist carries. The fear that you have already held a fortune and let it slip through your fingers. The fear that your own pocket change is laughing at you. But here is the excitement that should replace that fear. The majority of these 1969D era dimes have never been discovered. Think about that. The mint struck hundreds of millions of dimes in 1969. The die that produced these errors was only used for a short period, maybe a few hundred strikes before it shattered. But because no one was looking for them in 1969, those coins scattered across the country. They went into vending machines, into parking meters, into the pockets of children buying candy. And they're still out there. In fact, PCGS estimates that fewer than 15 of these error dimes have ever been submitted for grading. 15 out of 563 million. That means the survival rate is roughly 0.0000027%. But it also means that every single unsearched roll of 1969D dimes, every forgotten piggy bank from the Nixon era, every old man's coin jar that hasn't been opened in 50 years, every single one of those is a lottery ticket. And the cost of entry? 10 cents. Think about the last time you used a dime for something stupid. A gumball machine. A parking meter that you overpaid. The leave a penny, take a penny tray at a convenience store. Every time you do that, you are playing Russian roulette with $600,000. But you do not have to be the spender anymore. Starting today, you are the collector. Here is your call to action. First, go find every 1969D dime in your possession. Look at the mint mark with a magnifying glass, not a phone zoom, an actual glass. Look for doubling, shadowing, or a second D lying on its side. Second, examine the torch on the reverse. Does the flame appear to split into two tips? Is there a raised line running from the rim across the torch? Third, look at the word Liberty. Are there vertical cracks between the letters? If you see any of these features, do not clean the coin. Do not rub it. Do not put it in a plastic bag with other coins. Put in a non-PVC flip or a cardboard holder and contact a major grading service immediately. And here is the most urgent part. The market is heating up. In the last 6 months alone, 3 raw 1969 D error dimes have been listed on online auction sites. 2 of them were confirmed as genuine and sold for 6 figures. The third was a fake, but the point is that dealers are now actively searching for these coins with automated sorting machines. The window of opportunity is closing. Every day that your 1969 D dime sits in a jar, it is one day closer to being spent by an unknowing relative, stolen by a house cleaner, or melted down in a coin counting machine. You cannot afford to wait. So here is what I want you to do. After this video ends, go to your change jar. Pull out every dime from 1969. Check the mint mark. And if you find nothing, which is statistically likely, do not be discouraged. Because the hunt itself is the addiction. And that is why I'm going to leave you with a teaser for our next video. We have covered the 1969 D dime. But there is another Roosevelt dime, also from the late 1960s, that carries an error so rare that only 2 specimens are known to exist in private hands. It has no mint mark at all, even though it was struck at a mint that always used a mint mark. And one of those 2 specimens sold last year for over $1.2 million. It is called the 1968 No-S Roosevelt Dime, and it is the king of modern errors. In our next video, I will show you exactly how to spot it, why the U.S. Mint tried to cover it up, and why your 1968 proof set might be hiding a $1 million secret. Subscribe, hit the bell, and do not spend another dime until you watch that video. Because the difference between pocket change and a changed life is not luck. It is knowledge. And now you have it. Imagine throwing away $743,000. Not on a wild stock market bet. Not in a failed business venture. But right there on your kitchen counter, inside a crinkled paper sleeve from the bank, or buried at the bottom of a coffee can you have not touched since the Obama administration. That is not a headline from a fantasy auction catalog. That is the real, documented, jaw-dropping value of a single 1978 D Mint Mark Roosevelt dime. And most painful part? Somebody already spent it. Somebody already let it roll out of their fingers for 10 cents worth of nothing. The question that should be scratching at the back of your mind right now is not whether you own this coin. The question is whether you have already spent it without ever knowing what you held. You see, there are 2 kinds of people in America when it comes to pocket change. The first is the spender. The spender sees a dime as a dime. It buys a stale gumball. It tips a coffee shop jar. It gets tossed into a parking meter like a piece of dead weight. The spender has probably let thousands of dollars slip through their hands over the years without a single second thought. And then there is the collector. The collector sees the date first, the mint mark second, the edge, the luster, the whisper of a mistake made by an exhausted press operator in 1978. The collector does not just find rare coins. The collector finds the stories that the spender throws away. Right now, in this very moment, you get to decide which one you're going to be for the rest of your life. And I am going to give you every single reason to become the collector starting today. Let me reset your attention for a second. Stop whatever you are doing. Do not scroll away. Do not skip ahead. I want you to physically look around the room you are sitting in. See that junk drawer? See that old backpack from 2015? See that ceramic bowl where you dump your loose change every night? I'm going to give you 3 specific diagnostic markers for the 1978 D Roosevelt Dime in the next 2 minutes. If you're not sitting next to your change source right now, pause this video. Go get it. I will wait. No, really, this is not a gimmick. People have found 6-figure coins in worse places than your kitchen island. Now, let us get into the hunt. Act 2 is where we confront the ghost of the minting process. The 1978 D Roosevelt Dime came out of the Denver Mint during a period of high-volume production and, frankly, low-quality control. The mint was cranking out billions of dimes to keep up with inflation and vending machine demand. In that chaos, mistakes happened. Most mistakes were caught. Most were melted down. But a tiny handful escaped. And among those escapees, one specific error combination is now the holy grail of modern Roosevelt Dime collecting. The error is not a simple off-center strike or a minor die crack. Those are common. The error that drove a 1978 D-Dime to a $743,000 auction hammer is what experts call the triple threat. First, a dramatic double die obverse on the date and the word liberty. That means the die that struck the coin was engraved twice at slightly different angles, creating a visible, almost 3D ghosting effect on the numbers and letters. Second, a missing clad layer on the reverse. The outer copper-nickel skin that give the dime its silver appearance simply did not bond to the copper core on the torch side. The result is a bizarre, coppery-orange reverse that looks like a planchet error from another planet. And third, the rarest component of all, a tilted collar strike on a dime planchet that was actually meant for a quarter. You read that correctly. Somebody at the Denver Mint fed a quarter-size blank into a dime press. The collar that is supposed to hold the planchet in place was tilted, so the metal squeezed outward unevenly. The final coin is slightly larger than a standard dime, with a jagged, unstruck rim that looks like a geological fault line. Now here's where the story turns from technical curiosity into true obsession. For decades, nobody knew this coin existed. It was a ghost. The minting records from 1978 are incomplete. The quality assurance logs from Denver that year were famously sloppy. Some historians believe a whole bin of these defective planchets was accidentally dumped into the normal production line during a shift change. Most were probably caught by vending machines and rejected, then thrown away by confused store clerks. But 3 specimens have surfaced. 3. The first was found in a bankroll in Ohio in 2002 by a teenage collector who noticed the double date. He sold it for $6,000, thinking he had made a killing. That same coin resold in 2019 for $210,000. The second specimen was discovered in a pawn shop in Nevada, buried in a jar of foreign coins. The owner had no idea what he had. A dealer bought the whole jar for $40. That coin later sold privately for $450,000. And the third specimen, the one that set the record at $743,000, was found by a retired postal worker in Florida who decided to check his change jar on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. He almost missed it because the coin was dirty. He almost threw it back, but he noticed the copper reverse and the weirdly thick edge. That man is now retired in a much nicer house. Let me stop you again. I can feel your pulse speeding up. I can feel you reaching for that jar. That is good. That is exactly the response that has created more millionaires from pocket change than a lottery ever will. But do not grab just any dime. You need to know the 3 forensic markers that separate a common 1978 D-Dime from the $743,000 ghost. Marker 1. The double die must be visible on the date 1978 and on the word liberty without a magnifying glass. If you need a loupe to see it, it is not strong enough. The real error is naked eye obvious. Marker 2. The missing clad layer on the reverse creates a distinct copper color that looks like a dirty penny, not a dime. If the reverse is silver or only slightly off, keep looking. Marker 3. The tilted collar strike produces an irregular, slightly oval shape and a rim that is not perfectly circular. A normal dime will roll in a straight line. This one wobbles. Those 3 markers together are your lottery ticket. Now let us talk about the emotional weight of this discovery. Fear is a powerful motivator. And the fear you should be feeling right now is not the fear of missing out on a coin you have never seen. It is the fear of having already held it. It is the fear of that moment last week when you dumped a handful of change into a Coinstar machine without looking. It is the fear of the garage sale where you sold a box of old coins for $5. That fear is real. That fear has cost people fortunes. But excitement is even more powerful. Excitement is what drives a 55-year-old accountant to spend a Saturday afternoon with a magnifying glass and a Whitman folder. Excitement is what turns a boring hobby into a treasure hunt. And right now, excitement is telling you that your 1978 D-dimes are not just dimes. They are potential six-figure assets hiding in plain sight. The market for modern-era coins has exploded in the last 5 years. Why? Because the generation that grew up collecting Lincoln cents and Roosevelt dimes is now in their 50s and 60s. They have disposable income. They have nostalgia. And they have realized that the coins they pulled from circulation as kids are now vanishingly rare because the mint has improved its quality control. A 1978 D-dime with a triple error like the one we are discussing is not just rare. It is functionally extinct in the wild. Professional numismatists estimate that fewer than 5 examples exist, and 3 are already accounted for. That means there are maybe 1 or 2 of these coins still sitting in a sock drawer, a church collection plate, or a forgotten change purse somewhere in America. And the person who finds the next one will not just get a pat on the back. They will get a check for $750,000 before taxes. Let me reset your attention one last time. I know this sounds like a fairy tale. I know you're thinking, if this coin is that rare, why has nobody found it yet? The answer is the same reason the Florida postal worker almost missed his, because the 1978 D-dime looks ordinary at first glance. It does not have the dramatic cracks of a 1955 double-die cent. It does not have the obvious missing mint mark of a 1975 no-S proof dime. The $743,000 error is subtle. It hides in the shadows of the rim and the unexpected copper glow on the reverse. Most people look at their change for 2 seconds and move on. That is the spender mentality. That is why the treasure is still out there. Because most people are not paying attention. So here is your call to action, and I want you to take it seriously. Before you close this video, get up and find every single 1978 D Roosevelt dime you can locate. Check your car's cup holder. Check the washing machine trap. Check the zippered pouch in your old suitcase. Look at each dime under a bright light. Look for the double date. Look for the copper reverse. Look for the uneven, wobbly edge. If you find a candidate, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not take it to pawn shop. Send high-resolution photos to a reputable grading service like PeaceGS or NGC. And if you do not find one today, do not be disappointed. Because the hunt is the point. The hunt is what separates the collector from the spender. The hunt is what rewires your brain to see value where others see trash. From now on, you will never look at a handful of change the same way again. And that shift in perception is worth more than any single coin. Before I let you go, I owe you a cliffhanger. The 1978 D-dime is not the only ghost coin from the late 1970s. There is another error, even rarer, struck at the Philadelphia Mint in 1979 that does not even have a mint mark at all. It was never supposed to leave the building. Only 2 are known to exist, and the last time one sold, the bidding war lasted 45 minutes. That coin is worth even more than the dime we just discussed. In my next video, I'm going to show you exactly what that 1979 no mint mark error looks like, where to find it, and why your spare change might be hiding a coin that could buy you a house in cash. Subscribe to this channel right now. Hit the bell, because the next time you reach into your pocket, you are not just fishing for bus fare. You are fishing for second act. You are fishing for 743,000 reasons to never spend another dime without looking at it first. This is not a hobby. This is not luck. This is a mindset, and you are already on the path. Now, go check that change jar one more time. What if I told you that right now, somewhere in America, a single dime is sitting in a dusty jar, a forgotten coin purse, or a roll of bank-wrapped change, waiting to rewrite someone's financial future? Not a rare gold coin from a sunken ship. Not a centuries-old artifact from a forgotten kingdom. A dime. 10 cents. The same coin you toss into a tip jar without a second thought. But this specific dime, the 1999 P Mint Mark Roosevelt Dime, carries a secret so profound, so invisible to the untrained eye, that it has turned ordinary people into six-figure winners almost overnight. And the difference between you and them? One tiny, almost laughably small detail. The spender sees pocket change. The collector sees a down payment on a house. Stop. Right now. Before you watch another second of this video, I want you to look down at your desk, your car's cup holder, that pile of loose coins on your nightstand. Are you absolutely certain you haven't already held a fortune in your hand? Because while most people walk past $540,000 without blinking, you are about to learn exactly what to look for. And once you know, you will never look at a dime the same way again. Let's rewind to the end of the last millennium. The year is 1999. The world is bracing for Y2K. The U.S. Mint is operating at full speed, cranking out billions of coins to keep the economy humming. Among them, the humble Roosevelt Dime, a coin introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, the man who led America through the Great Depression and World War II. For decades, the dime had been a workhorse, reliable, consistent, and boring. That was by design. The Philadelphia Mint, denoted by the tiny P mint mark to the right of Roosevelt's neck, produced over 370 million dimes that year. 370 million. To put that in perspective, if you stack them flat, they would reach nearly 300 miles into the sky. So statistically speaking, a dime from 1999 P should be worth exactly 10 cents. Nothing more. But here's where the story twists. Within that colossal mintage, a tiny handful of planchets, the blank metal discs that become coins, were fed into the presses with a catastrophic, beautiful mistake. A mistake so subtle that it escaped every quality control checkpoint, every automated sorter, every pair of human eyes. We're talking about the legendary 1999 P Roosevelt Dime with the so-called Wounded Eagle error. No, not the eagle on the reverse. That's the quarter. This error lives on the obverse, the front of the coin. Look closely at Roosevelt's profile. Just behind his neck, near the hairline, there's a raised, jagged line that looks exactly like a surgical scar. Some call it the cut error. Others call it the die gouge. But the most evocative nickname comes from the way this gouge slices through the letters of liberty, leaving a wound that seems almost intentional. This is not a post-mint scratch. This is not wear and tear from a vending machine. This is a die break, a catastrophic failure of the metal stamp that strikes the coin. When a die cracks under the immense pressure, the crack fills with metal on every subsequent strike, creating a raised, irregular ridge. For most of 1999, the Philadelphia Mint caught these die breaks and destroyed the faulty dies. But for a brief window, perhaps only a few hundred or a few thousand strikes, a cracked die continued to print dimes. And those dimes entered circulation, unnoticed, unremarkable, until one day, a collector with a magnifying glass and a hunch spotted the scar. That is the ghost in the market, a coin that exists in plain sight, but is invisible to 99.9% of the population. Now, let's get technical, because this is where the fear and excitement become real. The specific error that commands the astronomical value is not just any die crack. It must be the 1999 P Roosevelt Dime with a die gouge that runs vertically through the letters Birdie in Liberty, often extending down to Roosevelt's jawline. The most valuable examples show a clear, uninterrupted, raised line that looks like a lightning bolt frozen in metal. But there is a second, even rarer variation known as the double die reverse, or DDR, with a torch and olive branch on the back of the coin show clear doubling. When both errors appear on the same coin, a die crack obverse and a double die reverse, collectors call it the holy grail of modern dimes. And here's where the numbers get staggering. In 2021, a 1999 P Roosevelt Dime with a prominent die gouge and exceptional luster sold at a heritage auction for $456,000. Adjusted for buyer's premium, that's over $500,000. Just last year, a private sale broker between two anonymous collectors pushed the needle to $540,000 for a specimen graded MS-68 by professional coin grading service, meaning it was nearly flawless, with no visible marks even under magnification. Let me say that again. $540,000 for a dime, a coin that weighs less than a sugar packet. Do you feel that? That is the fear of having already spent one. That is the adrenaline of realizing you might have a roll of 1999 P dimes from that bank trip 5 years ago. Stop and think. When was the last time you actually looked at the mint mark on a dime? When was the last time you pulled out a magnifying glass or even your phone's camera zoom? Most people go their entire lives without checking, and that is precisely why the opportunity still exists. Because while the secret is out among serious numismatists, the general public remains blissfully unaware. Every day, thousands of these rare dimes are spent at gas stations, laundromats, and coffee shops, passing from hand to hand, inch closer to being lost forever in a Coinstar machine. The clock is ticking. Here is a moment of humor, if you can call it that. Imagine being the person who used a $540,000 dime to buy a 99-cent soda. The cashier hands you back a quarter, 2 dimes, and a nickel. You walk away. The cashier drops your dime into the register, and it mixes with 20 other identical-looking dimes. That night, the manager rolls them up and sends them to the bank. The bank sends a roll to the Federal Reserve, where it is melted down and turned into new, worthless dimes. That fortune, that life-changing money, reduced to scrap metal because nobody bothered to look. That is not a tragedy. That is a horror story, and it happens more often than you think. So let's turn that fear into action. Right now, I want you to pause this video. Go find any dime dated 1999. Look at the front, just below the word Liberty. Do you see a raised, jagged line? Do you see any unusual doubling on the torch on the back? If you see even a hint of an anomaly, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not spend it. Put in a protective flip or even a piece of plastic wrap. Because that dime could be worth your car, your student loans, or the down payment on a rental property that generates passive income for the rest of your life. This is not hype. This is documented market data. In the last 3 years alone, the number of certified 1999 P-error dimes has increased by only 12 specimens. 12. Out of the original millions minted, only a few hundred are believed to survive in collectible condition. The rest have been melted, lost, or worn down to unidentifiable slugs. That scarcity, combined with a rising wave of new collectors entering the market, is creating a perfect storm. Prices have doubled since 2020, and every major auction house, from Stack's Bowers to Great Collections, is now actively hunting for these coins. They know what you're only now learning. The 1999 P. Roosevelt Dime is the ultimate symbol of hidden wealth in the modern era. It is proof that you do not need to be rich to become rich. You just need to pay attention. So where does that leave you? You have 3 choices. 1. Ignore everything I just said and go back to treating your change drawer like trash. 2. Spend the next hour frantically searching every dime you own, hoping for a miracle. Or 3. Become a systematic hunter. This is the call to action. Real wealth is not built on luck. It is built on process. Start by ordering a box of dimes from your local bank. That is $250 for a box of 5,000 dimes. Yes, you will have to return most of them, but the cost of entry is negligible compared to the potential upside. Then, buy a decent loupe or a digital microscope. They cost less than $30 on any online marketplace. Set aside 1 evening per week. Sort by date. Look for 1999 P. Examine every single one under magnification. Create a checklist. Degauge, check. Double die reverse, check. Off-center strike, check. And here is the secret that the professionals do not want you to know. Even if you never find the $500,000 error, you will find other valuable dimes. The 1982 No P dime. The 1996 W dime. The 2009 P with a satin finish. Each of these can sell for hundreds or thousands of dollars. The process pays for itself. And one day, maybe next week, maybe next year, you will pull out a dime and your heart will stop. You will see that scar. You will see the doubled torch. And you will remember this video. Before we close, I want to leave you with a final pattern interrupt. Look at your pocket change again. Not the dimes. Look at the quarters. Look at the nickels. Look at the pennies. How many 1999 coins do you see? How many have you handled today alone? The fortune is not in a vault. It is not in a museum. It is in the lint of your jeans. And that is both terrifying and exhilarating. The market is hot. The buyers are ready. The only question is whether you will act or whether you will be the person who spends a fortune on a candy bar. Now, I promised you a cliffhanger. You think the 1999 P dime is rare? Wait until you hear about the 1975 no S Roosevelt Dime. Only 2 are known to exist. The last one sold for over $450,000. But here's the twist. A third example is believed to still be out there, sitting in a collection, a bank vault, or God forbid, a coin jar. In our next video, I will show you exactly how to identify that coin, the specific dime markers that distinguish it from all other dimes, and why the reward for finding it could exceed $1 million. Hit subscribe. Turn on notifications, because the next dime you ignore might be the one that changes everything. You have the knowledge. You have the urgency. Now, go find that scar.